Hi, everyone, and welcome to another 4D user group meeting. Today is November 15th, year 2023. This is meeting number 68. My name is Brent Raymond, and I host these. On the agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about 4DMethod, look at some of our upcoming user group presentations that we have for next year. This is our last meeting of this year. So happy New Year to everybody. We're going to get a review of what's been happening in the 4D happy hour from Kirk Brooks. We'll get some 4D news from Jim Sobchak. And I'll do a little bit of I'll attempt to do a recap of the 4D Summit. There's just so much that was presented there. It's impossible to go through all of it today, but I like to share some of the highlights that I took home. And then we'll take a look at some other highlights from the 4D blog and one of the recent knowledge base articles, a tech note, specifically one tech note this time around, because 4D was very busy with the 4D Summit. Always takes a lot of effort to organize those events. And then we'll have our special topic presenter, the 4D web server code templates from Hector Flores Garza. Again, my name is Brent Raymond. I organize the 4D user group. It's an international effort here just to come together and look at 4D, what 4D is doing in the world. We have the website 4dmethod.com, and I can be reached at 4dmethod@gmail.com. As I mentioned, it's just to bring together all of us and have a platform for you to show off what you're doing and how 4D is working in a variety of industries and other ways out in the world. This is a great place for you to show off your new programming techniques using new features of 4D, or even just good solid code that gets the job done for valuable reasons that you've got, and see where it's deployed in the world and what can be done with it. So share your great ideas. Speaking of which, this is your group. Come and be a presenter. This is the calendar is always open to add your name. We've got a couple of great upcoming demonstrations on January 10th of next year. The title is "What's on the Menu? Simplifying Menu Construction" from Travis Miles, which is going to be great. It's a class that he's written for handling all menu code in 4D. So everything is moving towards classes. It just really makes things a lot easier. And then on February 28th, we'll welcome back Dougie Cryer to take another look at his ULO, user listing with ORDA component, except this time around, it'll be online. So exciting stuff. And you can see the schedule at 4dmethod.com/schedule. And what about you? Go ahead and suggest a topic. We've got an open date on April 17th. Or if you don't like to do it live, which is always tricky and the timing is never right, you're perfectly welcome to record a demo of something you'd like to show off, and we can post it on the user group's website. So go ahead and reach out, check out the schedule on the web on 4dmethod.com, and let's keep the great content flowing. Okay, now I'm going to kick over to Kirk Brooks to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the weekly 4D happy hour.
Thank you, Brent. Sorry about that little dash to answer the door buzzer there real quickly. I'm here alone right now. So yeah, Friday happy hour is continuing on apace. Really nice to see more people coming around more often, which is great. Just looking at the board right now, I see a whole lot of familiar faces. So I think pretty much everybody here kind of knows what happy hour is. Recently, we've been having some really good technical dives into just various issues, which is just, probably what is most fun about happy hours, doing demos, sharing screens, looking at stuff. Dougie Cryer has been talking about some interesting ideas regarding setting up virtual servers for 4D. And that's an idea that we're exploring that I think is really kind of interesting. And I'd encourage folks to maybe stop by and participate in the discussion. It's an informative process right now, but it could have some promise in terms of being a quick and affordable way to stand up 4D servers for your clients. What else have we done? We were also recently talking a lot about the issues of converting old databases and the challenges those represent. Certainly something that I think we all have to deal with. That's kind of what we're doing, and that's kind of what we do. I want to encourage anybody to stop in. Here's the link. Everybody's welcome. Interestingly enough, I was chatting with somebody, and he was just kind of saying that he, sometimes doesn't feel that, he's, that he's being a bit new, or maybe not so experienced as a lot of us are, that he, wouldn't belong there, and that can't be further from the truth. Like Brent says, this is a community effort, and we are a diverse community, and everybody who wants to be part of it is welcome there. So that's my welcome to you, and I hope to see you there.
Thanks, Kirk. Yep, it's an easy crowd, and there's always a nice discussion flow of maybe some of the things that have come up during the week on the forum and Discuss 4D or Slack or otherwise by email, and just to jump in and look at code and new ways of doing things in person, or even just to troubleshoot your own issues and get people's take on how they would handle the things that you're dealing with. So thanks again, Kirk, and thanks for all of your efforts with the happy hour. It's a great place to join each week if you're available.
Oh, and hey, Brent, if I may, let me just give a shout out to Travis and his upcoming presentation. I haven't seen it, but I worked with Travis for the time I was at Sweetwater, and let me tell you, he is a gifted programmer. So I really encourage you to make that one there, take a look at it.
I'm excited I'm excited to see that myself too. Yeah. So okay, yeah, that's coming back to the presentation on January 10th. So everybody mark your calendars for that one and all the rest. So thanks again, Kirk. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jim Sobczak to talk a little bit about the news and the world of 4D.
Hey, thank you, Brent. Welcome, everyone. And yeah, I couldn't agree more about Travis's acumen as a developer. He's awesome. So I worked with him for a while. Thanks for inviting us to the 4DMethod meeting. Unfortunately, my colleague Ad Coman-Cherensary, who usually is here with us, is unable to attend today. So I think Brent will be covering the tech note that Ad usually covers. And we're certainly looking forward to Hector's presentation on 4D web server code templates. Hector and I have been working together for many years at a couple different companies that he's worked for, and excited to see what he's up to. So always a pleasure to see Hector. A little bit about the summit wrap up. Well, it's not going to be as intensive as Brent's. I'm looking forward to that. But on behalf of the 4D team, I really want to thank you all of you who attended the summit, either in Atlanta or in Paris last month. We've had very positive feedback from attendees in Atlanta, especially because that's what we know, regarding the keynotes, the master classes, the venue, the party, and of course, the master ceremony. So thank you, Brent, for your stellar work there. It's not easy to do what Brent did at the summit. I know he makes it look easy because he's really a natural on stage, but I can guarantee you it's not easy to do that. So thank you for that. We should be releasing the summit videos before the end of the month. Thanks for your patience in that. It takes a lot of work to edit those videos, but we're getting close, and I was told today that they should be out before the end of the month. So that's good. Other DevCons, the German DevCon ended today. So that's kind of their summit. They call it a DevCon, but they had about 70 people there, which is an awesome amount of 4D developers. So congratulations to them. And then 4D Japan will be doing their DevCon in January of next year, and then Australia after that. And remember that 2024 will be the 40th anniversary of 4D, and we're planning a celebratory world tour. We're all looking forward to that. Of course, we'll be competing with the Rolling Stones, who are going on tour next year, and Bad Bunny, but our tour will be better than theirs, I can guarantee you. So hopefully you'll all be able to get to one of the venues, one of the 6 cities that we'll be visiting next year, excuse me, something near you, hopefully. So a little bit about Codely Studio. The first Summit Masterclass out of the gate was Codely Studio. And I've heard so many great comments about Marie-Sophie's class. And many people said it was the best Summit presentation they've ever seen. 90 minutes of just pure information. And she is a machine and a super nice person. And she really knows how to do presentations. She knows her material really well. So that was great to see. We've had a lot of interest from you, developers, regarding both Codely Studio and Codely.com. And so on that vein, we're presenting a Codely Studio training that is coming up at the end of this month. Our friend JPR will be doing a 6-hour training session on Codely Studio Level 1. It's called Accelerate Your Applications Transition to the Web. So 6 hours of live training, 3 sessions of 2 hours each, spread out over a 2-week period. And then about 30 minutes of Q&A at the end of each track. And if you've been to a JPR training, you know how much effort and work he puts into preparing his trainings. And the QAs are always great at the end of each course. So hopefully you'll be able to attend. Limited space on this one. I think we can only get about 25 people in there. And as soon as we announced it, that like 10 spots went right away. So I don't know what's available today, but if you're interested, please do sign up soon. So to reserve your spot. Okay, and then from a business side, we're doing what we do for every year this time for the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, which is our Amazon end of year sale. So if you buy version 20 with maintenance, you're eligible for a Amazon gift code. And the value of the code goes up as the value of your order goes up. So that will be announced. We've already announced it, actually. So that started Monday. Started Monday. And we've already had orders coming in. Of course, some people wait all year to buy stuff until this time of the year, which is smart because they're getting a nice little head start on their holiday gift shopping. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of that. And for those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope everyone has a great holiday. 4D will be closed, of course, Thursday and Friday of next week, but happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and hope you have a lovely holiday there. So that's it for me, Brent. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Jim. And no, that's some tough competition you have next year with the Rolling Stones and especially Bad Bunny. I mean, it's I'm sure maybe you could contact Bad Bunny if he would do an opener for the 4D Roadshow. That'd really push your numbers up, I think.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, just wanted to just take a quick review. I mean, it's we've all talked a lot about this since seeing the 4D Summit, but just highlight a few things that were presented there. It was it was a different format this year where there weren't several sessions going on at once, which I think was a new experience for anybody who frequents the summits. But 4D really responded with the amount of content that they packed into each of their sessions. One thing that was obviously the elephant in the room was the release of Codely Studio this year. I had the pleasure and responsibility, but certainly the pleasure of talking to Laurent Ribardière on stage and getting to ask him some direct questions about the architecture of Codely, understand the platform, how it works from a user standpoint, from the 4D backend, and what technologies it's using on the web. And how Codely Studios, it's not something per se that's that they just thought of. In my mind, it's somewhat of a natural extension of the data class hierarchy, as I like to call it, the ability to attach classes directly to tables and entity selections and entities, and even to your whole database itself, the data store, and the use of the 4D REST API. And it just is interesting to see what libraries that they're using, and it's pretty novel approach where there's no HTML that's being served out. It's all generated. In fact, Codely just creates JSON, which gets interpreted on the web client by the libraries that are being used. So it's a real neat thing. It was a nice experience to be able to ask Laurent, who's been developing his 4D product, the original developer of 4D for over 40, coming up on 40 years now. I'd challenge anybody to find that sort of experience with carrying a product through to his vision in any other company. It's so that was very cool. But as Jim mentioned, also one of the real highlights was a fully packed 90-minute presentation from Marie-Sophie Landru. And the stack of script that she completely went through, from basically nothing developed an entire car rental web application with all styling, all functionality that you would need to run a company. And it was really something else. I know we'd all seen a couple of small demos of Codely, but this was a fully functional, awesome demonstration of a new product, and it was really something to see. And whenever that video comes out, I really encourage everybody to watch that to understand the full potential of what is being delivered with Codely. Really, how extensive of a great application you can make, and always genius. But certainly worthy of mention here. The Keisuke Miyako had two masterclass sessions. My favorite was the Go Places with System Workers. He presented a new class called _CLI, as you see there. It provides all basic command line functionality for working with the command line on Mac and Windows. So it obfuscates the various complexities of working with each environment, and how that class can be extended. You can make a class that extends that class for introducing the capabilities of other libraries, public libraries like 7-zip, the CVS to JSON, which is actually a Go application under the hood. And like I say, the key word in this presentation was Go. He showed off how using his CLI class and his approach, his architecture, how easy it is to basically go shopping in the world of libraries that are available, publicly available, open sourced for Go, to do all kinds of, to leverage all kinds of great functionality that's available out there. It was, if nothing else, it certainly sparked my imagination and made me want to go see what's available with Go. But yeah, definitely an awesome presentation from Keisuke Miyako, or Miyako-san, as we should all be calling him. He's a master. Another great presentation that I wanted to highlight was the project mode and continuous integration from Abdelhafid El-Hur and Omar Debach. They took it was just again packed with information. They went from basic Git logic, Git commands with and how you would use them with project mode, 4D project mode, all the way to handling to hosting on GitHub and using GitHub Actions to build and distribute your applications. And at the end, they even showed off how you can tie in your own laptop to operate as a kind of a VM in the build process with GitHub. So GitHub will, as your final commits are pushed and you choose to release, it will build it locally on your machine and then push it back up to Git. It was just again a great one to check out when they release the videos this month. Just a really packed with great information. And also it was the summit started off with Thomas Mal and Stefan Klein-Schaefer going through a huge list of the new features in V20. It's, we've all seen the features come out, our version after our version in version 19. But when you put it all together for the full long-term support LTS release of version 20, it's basically 90 minutes of presentation that is just packed with really interesting stuff. It's a massive list of updates, and they were not to minimize any of the other masterclass speakers and what they presented, but yeah, as I mentioned, it was a very very dense with information and a lot of great things to take home and digest and think about how you can take advantage of these new developments and new approaches in your own applications. Okay, so that was.
Hey Brett, another thing at the 4D Summit, all of the example code that was shown on screen might have been 2 or 3 lines of classic code, maybe, in the entire summit presentation. Everything was using all the new classes, Orda, things like that. That surprised me that you could do so much without any classic code at all. No 4D classic commands were used.
Right. No, thanks, Tim. I mean, that it really was a great demonstration of taking the next step, reinventing some of your 4D applications, taking advantage of the new architecture, the new class structures and the new language, and clearly tying that all into Codely, which Codely just becomes a front end for all of the functions that you're wrapping into your class structures. So it was a lot of great information. Personally, I'm still digesting it all, and I'm excited to get back into and step through some of say Miyako's examples. It's just he's always a mile or several kilometers ahead of me anyways. And just that what he showed there, you could almost wrap up a plugin for most popular say integration libraries in an afternoon, and immediately start taking advantage of modern open source libraries over in a very easy way. Anyways, all right, well, thanks, Tim, again. Just like to also highlight some of the recent articles that came out on the 4D blog. There's the latest article, last time I checked anyways, was tying in OpenAI into 4D. I was wondering when that would start happening. And there's a nice example of effectively populating a 4D database with sample data pulled directly through the OpenAI API, and how you would go about using that for other purposes. There's obviously the number of other purposes is virtually unlimited. People are doing some very interesting stuff with ChatGPT and OpenAI and all of that. So it will be interesting to see how else people tie OpenAI and whatnot into 4D. They covered the ellipses option, fresh approach to writing variadic functions. That's a very fancy way to say with 4D methods, you're able to explicitly say, all right, you've got 1, 2, 3 parameters, but you can also say, you can just keep on passing parameters, and they'll be interpreted in a certain way. You know, that's the classic language had its way of handling that, and now we have the way to handle variadic functions with the declare statement of for declaring parameters, which is nice because if you've got a 4D database of any size with shared libraries and all that kind of thing, big modules, you're going to run into this kind of thing, and we're all trying to modernize and refactor our code. So it's nice to see that they've added the ellipses option. Also, simply simplify variable declarations and assignments in a single line. You can assign a value immediately upon declaring variables now, which I feel like I've tried to do when I'm coding just naturally, and I always forget that that's not where to do it. So it's nice to see that that's possible now. There's also a blog article on they added the ability to inject custom data in WebSocket client headers, which just effectively, if you have taken advantage of the new WebSocket client, you can now also put in your own headers to it's for like authentication or certain things like that, fleshing out the WebSocket client capabilities. There's also a great new article on tracking data changes in your database. They have effectively exposed the data synchronization capabilities that they used for 4D for mobile. And something that I think that we've all tried, we've all developed in our own way over time, but having a global change stamp for the entire database or for each record, having automatically having a separate hidden data class for deleted records. So everything you would need to be very efficient with how often data needs to be updated, say on a client, on a web application, or on a mobile device. You just check the stamp, If the stamp matches, you don't need to go out and refetch a whole ton of data. So that's something that's very important actually to learn about moving forward. Another very important change that happened is the deprecation of PHP commands and removal of the 4D built-in PHP interpreter. If any of us are using PHP for various reasons, which has been a thing since I think V12 or something, by default, with the release of R3, I believe, the standard PHP, the integrated PHP engine, is not going to be included. It doesn't mean that you can't include your own, but you'll have to include your own. Just something to think about for any of us that are using standard PHP commands in 4D. Right, so don't miss that if you are using PHP. And normally I'd be handing off to add Common Chaurenseri here, but as Jim mentioned, he wasn't available and had to be somewhere else at the moment. So I'll just cover the latest tech note quickly. It's a hash-based set class component. So it's a component that offers the ability to do set operations. It's a component that shares a class that has the ability to do set operations with basically anything, like, well, not anything, a list of integer IDs, for instance, text hashes, UUIDs, for instance. And so you can, outside of 4D's set commands, which only work with classic 4D selections and whatnot, you can roll up your own. You can use this component for having your own set, quick, fast, very fast, and capable set operations using this class. And if nothing else, these tech notes are always a great way to learn how to do this kind of modern coding approach in 4D and with classes and sharing classes out of components. So yeah, check it out. Always great stuff coming from these tech notes. They're like white papers for how to do 4D with the modern language. They put a lot of work into doing these. You can use them out of the box, or they're also just great as learning tools. Okay, and now like to introduce our presenter. Today we have Hector Flores Garza. Hector is originally from the city of Eternal Spring. Today it is known as the beautiful city of Cuernavaca in the state of Morelos in Mexico. But today he resides not far away from me in Brookfield, Wisconsin, also known as the state of eternal cheese. Originally, Hector went to school for and worked as a civil engineer. He was able to leverage that engineering background when he started using 4D almost 40 years ago with the release of the Quicksilver version. Since then, he has had experience working with 4D for companies around the world, such as in China, Australia, and most recently in the United States. For the last 20 years, Hector primarily worked in the printing industry, starting with Auto Trader Publishing, where Hector and I worked together for several years, and most recently at Label Tracks in Wisconsin. Hector makes an incredible paella, is an avid golfer and tennis player, and please join me in welcoming my good friend and colleague, Hector, to the 4DMethod user group for the presentation today.
Hi all, and thanks, Brent, as I call you, for the invitation.
See.
Let me share my screen so I can start my.
Sure.
Okay, today's presentation is about the web server code templates. This idea came from a need from the last company I worked for, Label Tracks. They have around 600 clients around the world, and there was a need to do a specific code for some of their clients. So we had to take we didn't want to have that specific or tailored code on our build, so we came with this module of idea that I will be explaining. It's not for Label Tracks. They don't call it. First, it was called the API for Label Tracks. Now it's being called the LT Connect, and the way now I'm calling it, it's not. The idea comes from that same idea, but I'm calling it right now the web server code templates, and basically it's just customized code with fast deployment. So I'm going to talk about the benefits here. As I mentioned before, it's you can have clients having the need to have a specific tailored code, or maybe it could be your own an enterprise, or any thing you want to take out of the build, maybe for trial or new models you want to implement. You can use this external code out of your build for that. Other benefits is multiple connections. With a license for the server, you can have as many connections as you need it. And the third is that it's multi-threaded execution through the web server. You have to be very careful about all the methods being called through that template that I'm going to show are threaded safe. And then I'll talk about also how you can deploy it and be a fast deployment with no need of a build. So let me start. So this is the basic architectural and the core components of it. As I mentioned, you will be needing the 4D web server. You will have to use what I'm going to explain later. It's what I call the web server code templates. Then you have to deploy those templates to whatever web servers, for the web servers, your clients or your company or enterprise have. And the core command for this is what we call the process 4D tags. It's very simple, and I'll show you how's that line being written and used. And then obviously the core is handling HTTP requests. And very important is to resolve issues and problems. I strongly recommended is having an HTTP log that I created, because you wanna log all requests, because incoming content that is going to be processed may be coming incorrectly. You want to check on that. So you want to log the whole incoming request and response of that HTTP call. You can always interrupt me and ask for any questions. It's okay. So I'm going to explain what's the template, what I call the template. Basically, it has four. You can see the 4 tabs. First, you will like to have a good description and a version history of your template, and an example of how you're going to be expecting the content of that request, so that your code can handle it. Then you have a section for security where you can authorize some IPs to connect to those requests, to connect to your templates execution. Then you can also restrict it by user, or you can also restrict that it has to be an SSL connection. And also you can encrypt content with different types of. I'm not using it for the encrypting because you want to be more open to other possibilities. So there's a plugin that you can use. It has multiple methods of encrypting with its passwords.
Which plugin do you use?
NTK.
Oh, NTK. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then this is the code. Basically, that's where you write the in 4D language. You write the code, the template code. Normally, what we used to do is we coded it on the 4D editor method editor, and then we pasted it. We did a unit testing before we actually put it on the actual template. You can also put a trace command here. So whenever you having that actual request coming in, you can trace and debug an incoming call. There's a possibility to do rollbacks. I didn't mention the top part of you assign an ID to it. This is not used anymore because we used to have another interpreter besides 4D tag. It was called
footprints.
I forgot. We didn't use it for more than 3 years now. And it's good to categorize your templates because you can have a lot of templates, so it's good to categorize them. And then you can assign where you're how you're going to be responding, the content you're going to be responding back to that request. And you can assign a name. That's not that important, but just for reference. And you would like to have a version numbering even for the templates because they actually change constantly.
Yeah, it's good to have so much metadata attached to the scripts so that you can keep track of how they're supposed to be run and versioning.
Right. Yes. And also you have the latest build because you may have a template that may be not compatible with older builds. So that's another restriction that when you deploy, it will check that it's compatible with that build you're sending it to.
So you could check against the the version of the say the host database and
right. Yeah, because you will be deploying this. I mean, there were sessions that we deployed to almost 600 different servers. So you want to make sure that they had the latest build. And when that, I'll show you how we deployed it. But when we deployed that, we were checking for that version, and it responded. You know, this template could not be deployed to this server because it's running on an older build. And then I'll explain. You can each template you can register the web servers that it's will be using it, so that when you're deploying, it will know that that this template was specifically done for this specific client and IP server. And then this is just your list box of all your different templates. This is a small screenshot, but at Level Tracks we had more than probably around 400 templates.
What was the most, in your experience? What's the most requested integration or a purpose for these kind of operations, these templates?
Well, one was for enterprise and accounting systems of different clients in different regions of the world. Even that LaborTex had the accounting, its own module of accounting systems. Some other countries have very different accounting procedures and communication with the government. So they were not able to use our accounting system, but we were able to supply all our invoicing from our account receivable to those different accounting systems.
that's
another way that Label Tracks used this was they partner with a web to print company, and they couldn't wait for our builds. So it was a more dynamic way to develop their part, communicating with Label Tracks by having this code outside the build. And they're still using it, and I encourage them to, put now that they use it so much, to actually hard code it into the build and not use the templates, but they're still using because it's very dynamic, and it's a good way to also to deploy, and you can deploy a change in less than 5 minutes to around 500 different clients around the world.
Yeah, that can be a problem in itself, just managing the releases for so many installations, right. let alone having a way to customize a product for those environments.
And keep track of it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you a lot of flexibility to do customized code.
Great, thanks.
And this is I'm going to be talking now about deployment. As I mentioned, how we deploy. So basically, we created a registry of all the different clients and servers around and we almost had like 500 different registries and web servers. So you were able to choose first from this selector screen, you were able to choose what templates you want to deploy, and then it will show you come to this screen where you were able to select the actual servers you wanted to deploy to. In so many cases, we had again like 400 different servers we had to deploy to. So it created a process. I'll show you some of the code that was used for that. And so let me go to code now, if it's okay. Mm-hmm. It won't bother you, right?
We always like to see a little code. I don't want Tim to come after us for not showing code.
I'm still watching. I'm still waiting.
So this was coded around 4 or 5 years ago. I tried to do before this presentation. I tried to extract this. I was not going to show you all the label tracks going in here. So I tried in the past week to make it as a newer 4D version coding, but it's been a lot of work. So maybe you'll see old code and new ways of coding here. So here's the deployment. So first, this is the first method. It's very simple. It's just showing that form that I talked about, and selecting from a set, selecting the templates you're going to send. And then let's see. This was a method where you will be adding different registries, what I called, to deploy, right? A registry will be a combination of a template and a server. It's like a record that you will be creating and putting an IP in the client where it's going to go. So basically, as I remember, you go and you create those registries, and then you work with those registries later.
That's how the process knows where to send the templates, the sort of control center for where the distribution goes.
That's correct. That's a combination of the template, or many templates, to many servers.
Mm-hmm.
and just a record to keep that on a loop and thermometers. This is the actual creation of the registry, like which API template, the server, the IP, the client, and a timestamp for it. Very simple. It's just a loop. And then is the actual sending of the template. This is the main method where it's creating the registry, and then it's actually doing an HTTP send of those templates based on those registries that I'm going to show to you guys. As you can see, it's an HTTP request of sending that to the different and what you're actually sending is you first have to, I mean, the template it's a record, right? It's a record for a table. So you're gonna create in an object, you're gonna create all the specifics of that template. So that template gets sent to that specific client server with all the code you've written for. That comes and that also would have the when was the last code updated on that template, and so
you have the ability to schedule the template being run, or is that a schedule for sending the template to the client?
The way we did it is every developer in Level Tracks was running you can say its own standalone version where you do your own code. So you create the template and then you would push it to a middleware server that handled all the templates, and then there was somebody responsible of the deployment where he run on schedules and he kept track and log of who was sent, and he checked that every template got sent correctly.
Okay.
So we didn't get involved as developers. We had somebody that was responsible for the deployment.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it all depends on your personnel.
Right. So just that's a schedule for deployment there, deploying out to the installations. Gotcha.
And I'm also going to talk about what needs to be done to improve this. Based on our experience, I'll talk that later. And again, you want to track any problems with communication, and it will be logging every bad request or bad sending of the template.
Logs are good.
Logs are good, yes, and important. So I think that's all. Any questions for deployments? So.
Anybody can add questions into the chat for Hector, or just blurt it out.
So as you can see, this is the part of the deployment. And now, let me go back to the presentation. This is the, this is where it needs more improvement. This was the actual result coming back from each of this responding web servers in our clients. That's the acknowledgement that they received the template. And we had to keep track of also how long it took to deploy it. Most of the time was very quick, but sometimes, there were bad connections to those remote servers. And so the timing, we would like to keep track of the timing we each of the requests took to improve or talk to our clients if they had any problems with their network or something. So basically, you're sending templates and you'll be receiving templates. I can show that code too. If already show you the sending part, but let me show you the receiving part.
So the receiving is happening at the client installations.
Correct. And that client installation is most of our clients had a 4D client running the web server, 4D web server.
Huh.
That's the way we prefer not to actually do the any incoming web request was done through a 4D client, not through the 4D server.
Mm-hmm.
That was the policy at that time. And so basically, you're receiving the request. I'm going to show you the HTTP process, and you just you'll be getting comes in an object. You'll be getting the content, and then you will be putting back into actual fields on the record. It's just a duplication of that table on the client side.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the receiving part. And now I'm going to go to the HTTP. So as always, we have the authentication piece. Let me go back to my. Okay, yeah. So I would like to talk about the process for the tags. So I don't know if you're all familiar with this, but it's a very nice command, and that's the core of making this possible. It's a very simple command where you, as you can see, this is the template code. It's in text, and then you'll be Forty will be processing that code and send you back the output of that execution. And you can also, the incoming content to be processed, that's from the HTTP request. I'll show you an example, or it could be most of the time we're using JSON objects. And you can also be able to use parameters through the, I'll show you that. You can pass also parameters to be interpreted by the template.
Hector?
Yes.
Did you run into any limitations running your 4D code inside of the process 4D tags?
At the beginning, yes, but we had some nice talks with 4D, and 4D improved that. Because at the beginning, we had problems with objects inside the code. But as 4D developed and improved their practices, we were able to implement. I can say nowadays you can execute most of the 4D code commands.
So you're not aware of it. If you can write it in a 4D method, save it as text, it'll run here.
Yes.
That's been my experience. Yeah. I made a little what do they call it? The foot runner or same kind of approach just for local databases, and I've been able to just write anything you want and put it in there and have the same approach, and it runs and it's as Hector mentioned, it's traceable in a compiled system.
Yeah,
right. That's great.
Which is huge. Yeah.
And another thing, it's also multi-thread. If everything, any calls to any methods, because you can call your own methods, right, inside your build within this code. So, and if that method is thread safe, the whole execution of that request could be multi-threaded. So that's yeah, it's quite convenient.
Hang on a second.
Sure.
Say that again. You're saying that this interpreted code would run inside a preemptive thread.
Correct.
So a compiled preemptive thread calls process 4D tags, and it works.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like serving a web page that includes this 4D code. And if the code itself, as Hector said, you have to be very careful that the code should be preemptive thread safe, preemptive capable. But it's the same way that the web server itself can use these kind of tagged approaches with static files, that have, well, it's not static files, but tagged files for serving out dynamic content preemptively.
Yeah, it's very nice. Good work for thee there. So yeah, this is the core command that makes it possible. And let me see. So now I'm going to show you the some. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Clear my throat.
Okay. I'm going to show you the flow of the HTTP request, another core concept for this. So let me exit this. So as you know, we have the on-web authentication. This is not the actual for the on-web authentication. The for the web authentication calls this method. So you want to get the URL, the client IP, server IP, username, and password. Then we created this verify URL. It's basically, in this case, it's very simple because I simplified it for this demonstration. But we have many different types of incoming requests with different URLs, and we wanted to verify that incoming was going to execute a specific module of our web server. So in this case, it's just one example of it. And that's the model we call it W2C. So basically, you're checking for the path, and you're checking through the storage variable that this module it's allowed to handle those incoming requests for this module that we call right now the web template, code template. So once it gets an authorization for that, it will respond with yes. Now, if it's a bad request, it will respond with it will log it. As you can see, we have the HTTP log here, and it will respond with changing the header of the request and responding back to whoever did that request on the other side. In this case, could be somebody from another company or one of your partners that you will be sharing those templates so they can execute, and they want to you want to tell them any bad requests or any errors that I'll show you, because we also have an error handler here.
Yeah, security is obviously very important when you're passing full code sets through this manner.
Right, and as I showed you in the beginning of the template, you have security. You can secure it to one specific IP call or passwords, and also there was encryption. Right. Content could be encrypted too for sensitive data. So where was I? So this is a web authentication part of it. Obviously, you always have the option through I'll show you later through on your interface to enable the log to be active, the HTTP log or not, because you don't want to have tons of records of all the incoming requests. So you can turn it on and off the HTTP log. And then we have the authentication piece. And most of you can use the digest or the basic authentication. So I remember we did the basic, but everything was normally encrypted. So you're basically checking the path. You're checking, so I remember, let me look at the code. You want to check that you were able to get that template that you wanted to use for, and you will respond if the template was not found, and then you want to log that. That's building the object for the HTTP log. I'll have the opportunity to show it to you right now. So this is the HTTP log. Now the HTTP request comes in different actions through all the requests. So I broke it down by action. So that's checking the model status, doing an update to a record, responding with a header. So every action done through the HTTP request that was logged was separated in here in this code. If the authentication fails, if the module was disabled, respond with this. The actual response. Any log error that you want to register. Or also we have a scheduler that I'll explain to you guys later. Or there was an error decrypting or encrypting content.
I'm sure these logs came in handy tracking down any issues with distribution.
It's like you have to have it for sure.
Yeah.
Because when you're handling requests from outside, they can be blaming you that your code is bad and maybe the incoming content it's that causing the problem, or your own code in 4D that could be executing incorrectly. So yeah, for troubleshooting and resolving issues, yes, most necessary.
So I
would recommend it not to have this part.
So this logging is not only used for receiving the templates, but for the client systems being called by, say, the accounting systems.
Right. Or any errors that I'll show you how for the error handler, when 4D detects an error, how that error handler and how to log it. And there were shortcomings too that I'll explain to you too.
Okay.
So here we're checking that the strings of the store password to the incoming password, it's case sensitive. We want to make sure that for that. And then we're verifying that if it's SSL required, we're verifying that you have that the incoming request was SSL secure. If not, to reject it. Here we're checking if you restrict it for an IP that it matches that incoming IP. And for the password match. So this is basically several conditions that were needed to comply. And also, as I mentioned before, you have to log them for troubleshooting. So, so let me show you the error handler. So at the beginning of the HTTP request, that's on web authentication, you start running this error handler. That's all you know. It's based on you assign it per process. So every request, incoming request, it will be its own process. Okay. So we're still on the web authentication part. So now we're going to go into the actual on web connection. It's the same thing. Again, you want to verify that the proper URL is coming in. And then after that, again, this is just one URL that's being verified. But again, that's why it's in a case statement. You can have multiple incoming requests, not directly to the to this module, to the web code templates. It could be other part of your web server. So that's why it's separated here. And I'm going to show you the actual handling of the requests. So you'll be reading the parameters. You can be receiving parameters, and they get converted into. The only process variables here is that you want to have this headers, the header names and header values available through the template, and the only way to do that, actually not, but the way it was coded at the beginning is you wanna have them as a process variable so you can use them inside the template code. But again, you could be passing that as an object and then getting it back. That's another way to do it. I don't know if did I explain myself. This was a simpler way. That way, if you have it as a process arrays, you will be able to use it directly on your code template. And or you can pass it as a parameter in when you're calling the 40 tags command and respond back those headers. And that's, I mean, you always want to respond with a header for errors or for wherever you want to send back to the request. So you're getting the body, that's where you're getting the actual content. That's again, could be XML, it can be JSON, whatever content your template is going to execute and respond back to it. So this is the, as you can see here, I have two different, the template send, as I mentioned, this is where you handle the deployment. That's the actual code of the template. Remember, I talked about the deployment. It's also a request coming in. So that's where you handle this, and then you save the actual template contents and save it into a record. Remember you were sending those, those fields?
Yeah, it's basically two different broad functionalities: the receiving of the templates or the integration with the other systems at the client installation.
It's using version 20. But I mean, there's so many areas that when we did this, we were not using dot notation at that time. Eventually, I'll convert all that to a more modern. Is Brent back?
Yep, sorry. I don't know what's going on here.
It's okay. So I stopped, so I'll continue now.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, remember I showed you, this is the core of the process 4D tags that I showed you at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to explain the whole, how you process and execute the template. So basically you're doing a query based on a reference of the URL and opening that querying that template, loading that record, making sure that the template exists. If not, again, respond with a header. Then based on the template, you telling the whoever did the request how you're going to respond to the request, XML, JSON, HTML, or plain text. Then it's here I'm just putting the record of the template into, this is where I'm reading the code in 4D and put into a template. It's telling you if it's going to be encrypted or not, the method of encryption, the password. So if it's going to be encrypted, then I use the this encrypting and decrypting method. That's where I'm using the plugins, NTK. To decrypt and encrypt with whatever method you use for every single template, and the password to encrypt it. And again, you want to log everything. So through the whole process of the request, there you're always logging those stages. Then this is where the magic comes. That's where the execution comes in of the template. You're getting a response back. You're gonna send the created headers. How you're gonna respond to that, and you want to log that response too. Again, it's not that you're creating every single record. It's just one record per the HTTP request. So you're just updating that record in this different process when you use HTTP. Calling this method doesn't create the actual record. You're still using the same record. And then you can also encrypt and decrypt the response. And you also want to log the response here. And that's how you're handling the execution of the actual template code.
I see that the the execution of the template could update the headers, and that's why they're process variables. The process 4D tags kicks off a independent process.
Correct.
Right.
I don't think it's an independent process. It's the same process. But no, it's actually the same process because
Same process. Gotcha.
Yeah. If it was different process, you had to use into process.
Right.
So yeah, it's the same process. That's what 4D handles. Every single request is a process.
Right. Just another method, anyways.
Right.
Right.
So and then you send the actual response type and the actual content of a response. And most of the time we were responding with a JSON object back to them, to the whoever server did their request, so they could get content like invoice data or whatever content you wanted to respond back on those customized templates.
Nice. And it could be whatever format that the client needs for the systems that are being integrated with.
And yes, and every system has different formats. And
right.
That's where you have to be. That's the benefit of customizing code.
Right.
Because if you select to have just one format or have it on your actual build, and then your client is going to have a connection with a different vendor or whatever, and they want to have it in a different format. So that's where this customizing comes very flexible and convenient.
Yeah, it must have added a fair amount of flexibility to the host systems, the host applications, to be able to have this capability for integration, customized integration.
Right. And the benefit is that you could deploy it in less than 2 hours or whatever was needed. Yeah, it's
right.
Very fast deployment.
This still strikes me as interesting because you're running a compiled 4D application. And and you're using 4D's web server, and it's running preemptive. You've got the option turned on, so 4D's web server, all the requests coming in are preemptive. Yet, the actual code that's being run in those preemptive calls is interpreted.
Yes. And modifiable maybe in less than 5 minutes, and deploy in less than 5 minutes.
So I wonder if there's no way to really know what kind of performance hit there is, but there's got to be some kind of performance hit from dropping out of preemptive compiled into running this interpreted code and then back into the preemptive thread again.
Right. So I mean, you want to be very very fast on the execution of your template. And that's when it gets hard, because I mean, Little Tracks has been in the business of 4D for more than 30 years. And
it's just amazing. It's just amazing this is possible. I'd heard about this being able to run interpretive code in a preemptive thread, but I didn't know this was how you did it. I didn't know this was a trick. And that all of the preemptive threads process variables are available to the interpreted code.
Yeah, you mean process variables?
Yeah, the process variables are available to the interpreted code that's running here.
Right, and also the methods, your actual methods that you want to execute inside your build. Now you want to make sure they're threaded safe, because you could be coding your template and then you add a method that's not threaded safe, that is calling other methods, and that's when it can break things up.
Did you run into that, and would you get an error, or would it just silently fail?
The problem that we did is that we decided not to. We're not executing threaded safe because there's so much old code in level tracks that the rule of thumb was don't mess with it. And we're talking about tons of requests being handled with this, especially when one of our partners that we had, there were tons of requests from different clients. And at the beginning, we had some problem with record locking. Records were being locked, and but then we started making sure on those template code that we unloaded those records. And so, yeah, you can get into the record locking problem quite easy. So
Orta can really help with that approach anyways. Were you to take this and modernize the code.
Yeah, maybe if I have time in the future, I'll put it.
Yeah,
I'll put this all, or I mean, or maybe I'll share it. Somebody can put it into order, or we have to have some permission from level tracks for this,
right?
To be shared, but again, this is more the reason of this demo is to open the possibilities that you can use this powerful 4D tag process tag command with the use of templates, and having it available through the web server. It's quite good because it opens your application to many.
Right, and it's more the strategy behind leveraging that capability that really makes it all possible.
Yes.
Right.
So let me see where I'm at. So yeah, and then you respond back and you take the on error call off, and then you start handling requests back and forth, not just to one template, to many templates in the matter request. So in a nutshell, that it opens your application to customize code. Let me go back to my presentation. So I'm going to talk about the HTTP. This is the interface. It's just a list box where you have you can log, you can turn it off and on. You want to purge those requests. So you have that option because you can have a lot of requests and you don't want to saturate your database with it. And this is the actual, it's very simple. So the actual record of the HTTP log. You log in the header, you log in the body of the actual request, As you can see, this is a JSON there. We're talking about a ticket number, blah, blah, blah. So it's good to log that, because if, whoever's doing the request could be sending a bad JSON content and producing the error. So you want to check on that. So this is the logging of the request. Then is the logging of the response. In this case, in this example, they were not authorized. So that's the header. You're also logging the HTTP status of it. And at the end of the report, you have the option. Oh, sorry. As you can see, you have those check marks. You can create a report and send it in a text file to maybe to your incoming requester. Send it the data and you say, well, look, this is what my log says. And you have the option to select which fields you want to put in that report. And
that's nice. You can deliver what your records show as far as what they're sending and what the potential issue might be.
Very important, because troubleshooting this with tons of requesters can get complicated. So you want to log that.
So you're not using the HTTP logging feature from the web server?
I'm not. No, I did my own specific.
Right.
It wouldn't hurt to use both, honestly. It's
right.
It's nothing stopping you. Yeah.
That's correct.
There's a lot more detail in this than in the weblog.
Right.
And future improvements. What I found out that it's my approach at the beginning for logging the deployment was quite simple, and it will be nice to have a better kind of a better interface for a deployment log. One thing is you're logging the request, but then you want to log every single, once you get tons of servers there running your templates, you want to have a good log or a good record of when they were deployed at what version and all that. So yeah, that what we're thinking about doing this as a future improvement for this module. I didn't have the time to do it, but this is something that will be very important to have. And that's it. Any questions and answers? Any questions? I'll give the answers.
It's impressive to see how you develop the architecture for making it possible. At its core, it's very simple, which is always good. But wrapping a lot of complex controls around a simple process,
it's more about the solution than the actual complexity.
Right.
And try to make it simple because it'll get complex by itself.
Right. I've heard that before.
Yes. Many years ago, right, Brett?
Yes. Anybody have any questions for Hector? How this could work for your environment, or ideas for improvements, or thoughts in general? Nothing right now. Okay. Well, there's always a discuss.4D linked to every one of these meetings. So if you'd like to pick up the conversation there, or in the happy hour on Friday, or reach out to Hector directly, I'm sure he's available. Thanks, Hector, for showing all of this. It's very interesting approach, as Danny said in the chat. And sorry everyone for any technical difficulties we had. I should have all the recordings, at least while I was here, and I'll stitch them all together on the side. So again, if there's any other questions that you might have, now's a good time. Otherwise, I will take the sharing back over.
Yeah, go ahead.
And share my slide. So no more preguntas.
No hay preguntas, no.
Good. Okay. Bien, muy bien. Terrible Spanish. All right. Well, anyways, thank you again, Hector. Thanks to everyone at 4D, and thank you all here for joining. All the rest of the discussion can be picked up on discuss.4d.com. All feedback for Hector and for me and everyone else is always appreciated. You can be sure to help that these meetings and presentations continue. If you found anything interesting or gotten any ideas, or if the user group has helped you in any way, you can always give a little support out on the patreon.com/4DMethod. And thanks again, all of you, for joining today. Going to
thank you, Brent.
See you next
Thank you,
time.
Hector.
Thanks again, Jim. Thanks again, Hector. And
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, Brent.
we'll see you all next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
See you.